Right. The actual nuts and bolts of this story are talking about the incredible growth in El Salvador thanks to the adoption of Bitcoin made legal tender was at the very end of this piece. They couldn't ignore it. They couldn't pretend that it wasn't true because numbers are numbers and you need to put them into a story that includes all the numbers. The headline is fallacious. The headline is false. It suggests that somehow things are not going well. But by the end of the article, they say, actually, this is a genius stroke by the president, Bukele, because the frickin' country's growing like a weed. This is a rebrand of a country.
For a mere, even if Bitcoin went to zero, they would still have achieved billions of dollars worth of an ad campaign, a marketing campaign for the country.
Right. So Costa Rica called 60 billion, El Salvador 30 billion. I mean, is it unreasonable to think that El Salvador's GDP is going to catch up to Costa Rica in the next 2 or 3 years? Right. So El Salvador has the potential to similarly attract the best and the brightest with perfect money, with Bitcoin. It's already happening. So the tourists come. This leads to, in the tourism sector anyway, you've got an increase in hotels, which increases the workers, which increases the income, which increases GDP, which increases the adoption of Bitcoin, which increases tourism, which increases the hotels. So you got this virtuous cycle building up, just like in Florence. It's all around Bitcoin. You've got the President Bukele, which is like the Medici of Central America. These other countries in Central America are looking at El Salvador and they're saying, you know, how do we get in on some of this action? And it really has become the land of the free. People who are tired of the oppression that's happening in some of these other fiat-based economies. And fiat money is oppression. Fiat money is slavery. Fiat money is kind of the end of humanity as we know it, whereas Bitcoin is a continuation. So this financial headline, which talks about all the sunk costs and the waste of money, is completely wrong. I mean, they're missing the point. They don't understand that this is an investment that will ultimately rise, as of course Bitcoin is programmed to increase purchasing power against fiat money, mathematically guaranteed to do so. Meanwhile, you've got all this boom times in terms of people coming here and participating in a brand new emerging force of excitement. And they've got so many natural resources and energy. It's quite something.
And I also want to point out that, of course, you know, Medici, he wasn't flipping art. Like, he didn't invest in Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci or Botticelli or, order the David to be, a sculpture to be put into the center of Florence because he was hoping to flip it to somebody. That was the marketing cost of Florence and his understanding of legacy and the future. Like, you and I will be remembered for our artwork here on the set, the turgos, the national bird of El Salvador, right here in our set.
There's a controversy whether those are turgos or are they parrots.
Uh-oh.
The people here seem to believe that they are parrots, and we were sold turgos, the national bird. And we, of course, paid a little extra because, hey, this is the national bird. But I think we got sold parrots. So now we've got parrots, and but they're still cute, and I believe they have parrots in this country too, unless there are no parrots in El Salvador, in which case it makes no sense. We have parrots on the set for no reason. But hopefully there are parrots here, and next time maybe some turgos, which they're blue and orange. Right, well, let's talk about another currency, the yen. All this globalized forex trading, sometimes the yen gets overlooked. It is a major funding currency in that it's been used by speculators to borrow and then invest in higher yielding currencies around the world, the so-called carry trade. It's sold off hard in the past few weeks. Yield curve control seems to be faltering. What next? And does any of this matter for the Fed's plans to perhaps do the same?
Here to reframe it and explain why you need things like Bitcoin. So the Great Rebrand, let's look at their headline about the story of El Salvador and Bitcoin policy here after about 9 months of a Bitcoin law. El Salvador's $425 million Bitcoin experiment isn't saving the country's finances. So they go in and they give a few numbers. The headline number is 425 million. The article mentions 374 million as an estimate that includes all the cost of Bitcoin so far, including the purchases for the Treasury, including the $170 million of airdrop, essentially, of Bitcoin of $30 that went to every citizen here, and including the cost of building the infrastructure. So they say it's 374 million, that this is the cost that they have endured, and that they now have a $50 million paper loss. So we're going to go into some of the details, which then the article itself, their own data, the financial data, shows that in fact, despite their headline, it is not a failure. It is actually a roaring success.